Namaste, yogis. Welcome to Happy Jack Yoga Podcast, episode number 6. We're so honored to be here with you. I'm Happy Jack, coming at you live from Cambridge, Massachusetts, USA. And I am here with
Happy Hannah, and I am in Sorrento, Italia, Italy.
Wow, that sounds very nice. But we're so excited to be here with all of you. And we got so far 12 yogis live with us in Zoom 13. It's building. And of course, everybody listening to the podcast, wherever you are in the world, really an honor to be on this journey and to be in this conversation. You know, as I think it was the last podcast, Hanna, we were talking about how you had, after each episode we do, you go back and listen to it and really listen to it and, reflect and, celebrate what we did well and also identify things we could do better. And I did the same as I, here again, coming back to how I do everything obsessively, I decided I'm not going to listen to any of them. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, in the essence of can I will. So I went and listened to all 5 episodes in the period of like a day and a half. and it was really helpful. You know what, to be honest, there was moments where I was self-critical and self-judgmental of myself. I have to say, and I'm practicing this right now as we speak, I'm practicing slowing down because I feel like when I was listening to the episode, I was almost hyperventilating, listening to myself talk. I felt like I was talking so fast. So I apologize to all of you. I feel that maybe sometimes I just get going a little bit too excited. I feel like I think it comes from a place of, want to lift the energy or bring positive vibes. But there's something about, and we got to remember this as yoga teachers, if we come out at volume 10 and, of our full self-expression and our volume and everything, and we just stay at volume 10 for the whole yoga class, it doesn't provide the same kind of emotional experience, right? It's just like a full-on AC/DC song for 60 minutes. And that's not where Sue likes that. She loves AC/DC and Motley Crue. But of course, what we want to do, we want to start by, creating the beginning of our sequence, the hero's journey. We create connection, really get everybody connected. And then, we go into the passion series, which is where we're like building momentum and kind of building up that until we, get all the way up to the contribution series, the peak. But then as we come back down to the gratitude series is when it's like, getting into the hip openers and slowing things down as we come into Shavasana. And so I don't know that I'm gonna try and create that arc in the podcast, but what I heard in hearing myself was that it was very intense, very fast. A lot of good things were shared. I'm really pleased with the things we shared. But anyways, it was helpful to go back and listen. The other thing that I noticed, in myself was that I could be a better listener. Because I always make this one page, and I'm very organized. I've got, for those who are here live with us, I'm showing this my one page of notes, very organized. I have one for each. Handa's is empty. Yeah, exactly. You've got a sheet that's empty. I've got a sheet that's full. Kind of shows how our minds probably are. Whose is a little bit overloaded. But I know it works for me to create that structure. But I noticed that as I was listening to us in our dialogue, often you would be saying something and I would acknowledge it, but I was quickly just going into the next thing that I had on my list to share. And so I'm calling myself out. I want to do a better job of listening, in this conversation. Certainly when we start bringing in guests, that's more important. I feel like when we're, leading community sharing circles, there is more listening, because that's the whole point, is to hear what they share and engage. But that's something I get to work on with the podcast, letting go of the structure a little bit and listening. So maybe I'll pause there just for a moment, because the other thing I noticed was that we sometimes go on for a really long time before the next person speaks. And now that I've just done that for 6 minutes straight, let me bounce it back over to Hanna. And is there anything, from what I shared, did you experience any of those things? Have you seen that my whole life, or the whole time you've known me? Like, yep, that's you, Jack.
No, I think that you have been listening, and I don't know that you've been that fast. Like I that's not my experience, but I do think that it's great that you're willing to be vulnerable and share that with everyone openly on a podcast that, but I would want to kind of like open this conversation up to some of the yogis who are listening, some of the people who are listening. They might not know what can I is.
Yeah, can I? It's constant and never-ending improvement. I'll tell you, as I was saying those things, I saw some smiles. I saw some smiles, I think, from maybe Scott and Alice. And either they were smiling at my what I was sharing, or they were like, "Yep, that's the truth." No, not
Ah,
calling anybody out, I'm sure.
no,
Um,
you've done great thus far. And Can I stands for what we can do to make it even better. So,
yeah,
of course, there's opportunities for both of us, for all of us to do things even better. But um,
yeah.
yeah, you
Yeah, there's
know.
something about that though, like hearing yourself. In fact, to take it to the next level, because I do things very thoroughly, as we have found out these last few episodes. I even went back to other podcasts that I've been a guest on to listen to myself, to see like, is this just how I am? Do I always speak this quickly? And truthfully, in this moment, I have slowed things down. I'm not sure if that's apparent or not. Just so I can go back and listen and see if it's noticeable or not. But it is something that takes some courage to go back and hear yourself. I remember, as a yoga teacher, the first few times recording myself, teaching a yoga class, and then hearing my voice. Our voice always sounds different when we hear it back through a recorder. Seeing ourselves, it's so easy to be self-critical and self-judgmental, and this is really a big part of the practice of yoga, and it's a great opportunity that we have as yoga teachers, because we're putting ourselves in this vulnerable place, right, where all eyes are on us. People are looking at us for direction, to tell us what's the next pose to do. And I guess this is our opportunity to step out of our comfort zone, and I'm happy to be here doing that with all of you.
Yeah, I think what makes it vulnerable is the fact that you're willing to try to do things like to improve yourself, not to say that what you're doing isn't good enough, but that you are willing to change and to always look to make things more and more helpful and useful for other people. Um, and that's beautiful. The fact that you care so much that you want to do that. A lot of people would not be so humble to, even say all of that. So I think
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
we do care. I mean, there's for
Mm.
sure is, especially with this podcast, something new. I spent, an hour this morning, really planning, preparing, because it's something like now we have a sense. Like Hun and I met for 10 minutes before this. We have a sense of the layout of the podcast. We know we're going to start with this. We're going to go here. We're going to end up over there. And it just gives a sense of confidence, like a sense of certainty, which is something that I'm always seeking. Um, and I'll just quickly share just something that popped into my head just yesterday. I got an invitation from a fellow student here at Harvard Divinity School, who also happens to be a yoga teacher, not necessarily like full time, but they're here studying something else, but they're also a yoga teacher. They've started this little club, the HDS Yoga Collective or something like that. Because all you need is two students to create a club, and then they give you, oh, look at that, then they give you some funding, celebration. And so I guess they had learned that I'm also a yoga teacher, and they reached out and said, hey, we're going to be doing a weekly yoga class Thursdays at noon, and we're just reaching out to a couple of different yoga teachers, and would you like to be a part of it? Honestly, my first instinct is like, whoa, put the wall up, put the guard up. I'm so busy. I got so much schoolwork. I got Happy Jack Yoga, our community to serve, my personal practice, all of these things. And that's like my default reaction. And part of it would be because of anytime we put ourselves in a new environment, there's uncertainty. It's a little bit scary, a little bit nervous. And I haven't responded yet, but I believe that I am going to respond, this afternoon after the podcast. Quick celebration. It's 11:11 right here on the East Coast. But I am going to I am going to reach out and accept one of those spots because it's a rotation. So they basically said, hey, is there some Thursday this semester that you'd want to sign up for? I think I can sign up for one. And hey, thank you for that celebration, Yaron. I appreciate that. and and also not only, I mean, not for myself to like practice stepping out of my comfort zone, but the reason I want to do it is, well, one, there's 250 students here, grad students at Harvard Divinity School that could potentially come and experience the hero's journey. And then also, if there's any yogis that happen to be in the Boston area, we'll make it public. It's like, hey, I'm going to do this live yoga class, whatever the date happens to be. I'm probably going to pick early November when some papers are done. And yeah, so just kind of tying it back into putting ourselves out there, stepping out of our comfort zone. It's a big part of yoga. So, with that said, I got just a couple of quick announcements before we jump into our yoga myth, which is our new section of the podcast. But a couple announcements. We got 15 yogis live here with us right now. Quick shout out to Brandon, Christine, Elizabeth, Felicia, Cece, Ryan, Sandra, Chada, Sue, Tammy, Tanya, Alice Scott, and Yaren. Thank you for being here with us live. It's an honor. I gotta say, Yaren, if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly, please like put the pronunciation in the chat notes because it really is it
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you for confirming that. It's really important to make an effort to get people's name correctly and pronounce it correctly. But for those of you who are not here with us live, if you're listening in Spotify, Apple, Google, YouTube, Facebook, you can join us live. If you would like to email our team at info@happyjackyoga.com, we'll send you the Zoom link and we get to say hello before the podcast starts. And at the end of the podcast, if you're still around, if you stick till the end, after we stop the recording, we'll connect with you, have some celebrations, open it up to feedback. And it's just really nice to be able to see your faces and be in your homes with all of you. Yeah, I love it. The other thing is we do even before I do that class, here in Boston, whenever I do schedule that, we have a weekly yoga class Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's online, it's in Zoom. And if you would love to join us, again, send us an email at info@happyjackyoga.com. Come practice with us live. And finally, this is a listener supported podcast. We've created a Patreon page for creators, and we appreciate those of you who have made a donation for the price of a cup of coffee per month for $5 a month. Yeah, you can join. You'll unlock a lot of really cool content and really be able to support this mission. So we keep it going indefinitely. I want to keep it going. So I put the link in there. We'll put the link in the notes as well. But Hanna, let's jump to the yoga myth. We got a great myth that I hear all the time. What is the myth we're chatting about today?
Today we'll unpack the myth, and I'm sure most of us have either heard it or said it, and it goes like this: I'm not flexible enough to do yoga.
Yeah, I see some smiles. Tanya's smiling. Yeah, we've heard that one before. It's kind of, I mean, as soon as I hear that, the first thing I think about is it's kind of like saying I'm too dirty to take a shower. Now, how silly would that be, Hanna? If I'm like really dirty and I said I can't take a shower, I'm too dirty. It doesn't make sense. And the point being is that yoga will help with flexibility. So we don't have to be flexible in order to start a yoga practice, in order to go to our first class, or in order to roll out our mat and do our first few poses. The yoga will help with the flexibility. So that's like really the most basic, simple answer. But I would really take it to the next level of that yoga is so much more than simply stretching and flexibility. It will give us mobility, it will improve our flexibility, it will help us physically. However, then we also start to notice the mental benefits, the calm mind, and at a time where there's a lot happening in the world, right? With wars, a lot happening with mental health challenges, with depression, a lot happening with just busy and overloaded, so much information coming our way. There's such an opportunity to calm our mind, and to clear our mind. And it's kind of like we take the time to brush our teeth. We take the time to do these other daily things, these rituals that are kind of a no like not we all a must do. Like we're always going to do it. And yoga can be another one of those practices that helps us physically, helps us mentally, and perhaps even connect to our spiritual as well. uh, I'm going to pause there, Hannah, before I say a few more things. What do you think when you hear that?
I would go back to the physical conversation of like, because that's what I think that like mostly people will say like, I like maybe there's like a little bit of fear of coming to the yoga class and not being good enough, by not being flexible enough, and also maybe some like lack of knowledge that all of the yoga poses do have modifications. Like chair yoga is just as valid as flow yoga. It's not like there's one type of yoga that is superior to the other style. So I think like this, there, like beyond this myth, there's the myth of perfection, maybe for some of us. And then I think another thing that I kind of hear in that myth is that we typically like to do things we're good at. So if we don't feel that we succeed, then it could be that it's something that we're less likely to even try, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, you mentioned a lot of really great points. One being, I mean, the things that I think about is, so when we first walk into a yoga class, I think back to when I first started in Calgary, and I went to a few different communities, and the majority of yoga communities are very inclusive and very welcoming. And that tends to be the experience. But I do remember one community, and I'm not criticizing it at all. But when I went in there, the front desk team were these, young, fit, group of girls, and it was intimidating for me. And they were, chit chatting with each other, not really acknowledging me or recognizing that I
Or
was,
including you maybe.
yeah, including me. Or I mean, I was out of my element. Like I was like, I'm sure I looked like a deer in headlights walking in. And
Well, that's
ideal what I
even more the reason to like maybe be welcoming if it is an inclusive practice.
That's exactly. So that's the point. So it's sometimes that happens. And that's why, just a reminder for all of us as yoga teachers and just as humans to to really make that effort to include people. So one, because there can be that intimidation the first time we go. But the thing to remember is, yeah, we don't have to be able to do all of the poses. We're not going there to show off all of the great headstands and wheels and whatever stuff. Like we're there to practice. We're there to grow. We're there to, in fact, to surrender. And we're there to practice self-acceptance. And that's very humbling to be on a mat with in a room full of yogis, and they may be younger, they may be more fit, they may be more advanced, more experienced, more whatever, and to still give yourself permission to be in there and to practice with them and to notice when the mind comes up and wants to compare, and to be able to really just have compassion, have self-compassion, self-acceptance. I remember I've shared before, when I went to Hong Kong, this would have been like 2010 or 2011 or something. And, I was a newer yoga teacher at this time and had gone to Hong Kong and was in this yoga class. It was like some hot, sweaty power yoga. And I feel like, I'm in Hong Kong. It was basically myself and 40 young Asian women who were very fit and flexible. And I remember, doing some kind of a forward fold, and there's a mirror. And so, everybody's in this forward fold, and all of the other yogis are like flat on the ground. And all you could see is like this, me, basically like a 90-degree perpendicular sticking up, totally. But, was able to laugh at myself, be like, this is silly. I can't compare. We can't compare to other people. So I guess this is just a reminder for all of us to let that go. And even as yoga teachers, right, we don't have to be able to do all of the poses. There's a lot of poses that I teach and call out, that I can't do them fully myself. Like, in fact, forward folding is the one that I don't do so well, but we can still teach it, right? When we get effective with our words and our articulation, and we're focused on our student to help them have an experience. It doesn't matter whether we can do the pose or not. So I guess that's a lot of different perspectives. That's going beyond a brand new yogi, but just some things to think about.
Yeah, and not only we can teach it, but we can also practice it. It's not like you stopped doing forward folds after that class in Hong Kong, did you?
No, no. In fact, it's something that I do every day now, and can chuckle about myself. I love the wheel. Like you say, we like to do the things we're good at. So if I'm in a class and the teacher says like, "Hey, take a pose that just feels right now, just that's calling to you," my default goes into back bends, because that for me, like I could just drop into a back bend right now and it would feel so good. Somehow I'm open, my body's open in that way. Forward fold, it's like really stiff, and I'm just like 90-degree perpendicular, which can be more common for guys to have tight hamstrings, tight glutes, tight lower back. But to your point, I still do it. I still, it's important to still work on the things, right? Like, not avoid the things that we're not so good at, but to, yeah, to do a holistic practice of our whole body.
Yeah.
Nice. Love it. So that is the myth. I'm too dirty to take a shower. We don't won't accept it. Won't accept it. I get it. I hear it all the time. So many of my buddies, like, guys that I play hockey with when I go back to Canada, I'm like, hey, yeah, you should try yoga sometime. And that's the first thing that I hear all the time. Oh, I'm not flexible enough to do yoga. And then, the first thing I think about, it's like saying you're too dirty to take a shower. So great myth, busted that one. We're going to move into the next segment of this structured podcast experience. We're moving into the next, before we get into the main, but we invited all of you. In fact, we invited everybody, all, I think we have 10,000 people on our email list. We put it out there to 10,000 people. If you have a question, we got one question. And we're going to end. And that yogi who asked the question happens to be here on live with us right now. So we're going to bring our dear friend, Alice and Scott. I see you're like hiding yourself as I say all of that. But no, I really appreciate it. Actually, I should take that back, because we didn't send it to our whole list. We sent it to our members. So we sent it to a couple hundred yogis, and we heard from one. And eventually we're going to open it up to the whole list. But you took the time, Alice, to ask a fantastic question. Maybe before we jump to the question, so beautiful to have you here, to have Scott here with us. And will you give us a little, let us know where you are, who you are, what brought you here, and then we'll get into the question.
Yeah, so we're Alice and Scott, obviously, and we're in Spain at the moment. So we're from the UK, but we travel, we go to other places, and we're in Spain at the moment for a couple of months. And yeah, I've been a member of Happy Jack for a year and a half now, I think, or coming up to that. So
I just kind of tag along as much as I can. I very much enjoy it. Sometimes feel a little bit guilty that I'm sat here as well, but yeah, I really enjoy it myself, and Alice gets so much from it, and really us doing it together has been That's been excellent, isn't it?
Yeah.
We did comment actually when we was doing the last yoga with you, Jack, and we was outside. You're like, oh, really like doing yoga together. That's what we were sort of saying between each other when you may catch us talking. It's just really nice, really nice.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. It's amazing that you have this practice that you can share together, and that you can, you know, be on this together. And don't feel guilty, please. Whenever we see you guys together, I love that. And just really want to acknowledge you, Alice, because if we think about all of the different yogis and that have become a part of the community, and yogis come and they go, and, you know, as will happen with all of us, you know, some students come in and sign up. That's the cool thing about the university, is you can sign up monthly and get your hero's journey done in like 4 months, get in, get out, get certified, and it's very economical. And then some yogis, many of them who are here with us live in Zoom, and yourself, you know, stay for a year, and yourself, even after that year completed, and you earned you're 500 hours certified now, and came back again for another year. What was it, I guess, what is it about the experience or the community that would have you decide, you know what, because we don't take that lightly, like that's a commitment of resources, of time. What is it that would have you say, yeah, I'm gonna do this for another year?
I guess I just feel now that I've obviously done my 500 hour and I'm out there teaching, that this community is it's kind of, I'm out there creating a little community with my yoga students, but this is my community now as a teacher. It's I kind of look at it as that space where I can continue learning, continue adding to my skills all the time. You know, even teaching last night, I'm doing the Buddhism course at the moment, and I was bringing in some of the wisdom that I've taken from that into my teaching. So it's just somewhere for me to continue learning all the time. And yeah, I just feel like it's almost like a sacred space for my growth as a teacher. So that's what's brought me back. And yeah, just
I think probably like everyone needs a little bit of encouragement as well, don't they? You know, you guys are encouraging all the other people. Everyone's encouraging each other.
Yeah,
you know, within the space. So, you know, and it's a really nice space to be in. You know.
Yeah.
I love that. That's beautiful. It's true. As teachers, like, and you've really done it, Alice. Like, you're out there putting together these workshop series, you know, a 6-class series and different things when you were in the UK, active with your blog, active in different ways. And it's true. It is important for Hanna, for myself, in addition to teaching, in addition to creating community and serving, to find ways to fill ourselves up and to have those little communities that we're also a part of, we can tap into. So we're so happy that you are here. Love having you part of the community. You sent in an excellent question. So why don't I read the question, because you write so well. So then we'll just like clearly read the question. I'm going to bounce it back to you if you want to add anything, and then let's talk about it. So Alice says, I'm studying the Buddhism course and was inspired by Gandhi spending 1 day a week in silent meditation. It made me think about how, in the face of so much noise and information demanding our attention every day online, social media, news, emails, WhatsApps, we too might maintain balance and stay connected to our true path, free of so much influence. For instance, in your experience, is it as simple as focusing on a daily practice or spending 1 day a week offline? I'm in the process of leaving behind apps like Instagram and WhatsApp because it's simply too much of a distraction. And conversely, I ponder whether I'm too adding to the distraction of others. Not sure if that makes sense, but it's occupying my mind a lot lately. And I would love to hear how you both achieve the balance. Excellent question. And you said it very succinctly. Is there anything that you'd want to add on to that?
No, it's just that's what's kind of running around my mind at the moment. Just how to almost live a yogic path, and yeah, just exactly what I've said, to kind of be able to stay in tune with with our the path that we are on and what we want to be doing from our heart, with so much noise going on around. It's a balance all the time. And I guess my way is I have to occasionally look at everything and pull away from things to try and find that balance. And it's really good. I mean, Scott here has never ever been on social media or anything, so I'm with someone who has absolutely and has to listen to my so for me it's really, I would just love to know from you guys, how do you balance following your path and with all of that noise?
That is the question. That is such a great question. I'm so happy you're going through the Buddhist psychology and mindfulness course right now. That's available at Happy Jack Yoga University. If anybody's interested, let us know. But it's great. That's what I love about going through these courses, is it generates questions, right? We hear about how different people like Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, and how he achieved so much, and learning about some of his practices. You asked a couple of different questions in here. One of them was, is it as simply as focusing on a daily practice? So daily practice, as we know, is super important to have those daily rituals. I don't know if I could say it's as simple as that, although that's like, if we could all get to that level, that would make the world a better place. But I feel like, as I was thinking about it this morning, it's got to be something at different iterations, like even hourly. I feel like for myself, hourly, if I have a day that's so packed, back-to-back appointments, traveling between things without any downtime, even though I started my day with really nice morning rituals, if the whole day is then packed with like no downtime, that doesn't serve me so well. So one increment to consider is even hourly, like having, once an hour, getting up from the computer, for those of us that may spend time at a computer or at a desk, once an hour, just drinking a glass of water, having, I've in the past had the alarm go off, nice gentle alarm, once an hour as a reminder, go drink a glass of water, stand up, do 20 jumping jacks. So I think that, we can look at it doing even smaller increment. I think daily is important for sure. Like a morning practice is about maybe the thing that's like changed my life more than any other in a way. But then in addition to like doing morning rituals, it's also helpful to have evening rituals. Thinking it's almost like a sandwich. We start our day with this sattvic, pure, this really beautiful sacred space, end our day with this sacred space. And then in the middle, because we have to do things, it is more rajasic. It is more energy, passion, accomplishing things. One of the other things I'll do midday, though, is a yoga nidra. We talked a little bit about that last call, and that's like a 15-minute yoga nidra, just to like pause midday after lunchtime. So we've talked hourly, we've talked daily. I think, weekly, having some kind of a pause. This is something I need to work on. I do some work every Saturday, every Sunday still. I would say ideally having a day of rest. The Bible recommended it. Lots of other cultures and wisdom traditions recommend it. Having a rest day weekly. You could take it monthly, a monthly massage, for me, monthly colonic. Finding these things that are just a nice reset, and then even annually. Like taking, you guys I have to think you have more downtime than your average person right now, right? You're traveling, you're from the UK, you're in Spain, you're really connected to nature, and I appreciate that you can share that you still, recognize when you get sucked into WhatsApp or Instagram or these kinds of things. But I feel like an annual thing, and because most people have some vacation each year, and most people, I'm not saying the people on this call, but most people, it's like, okay, vacation, let's go to Disneyland, or let's go to something where some activity which is very busy. And so if we can take that time By the way, let me know if my voice is cutting in and out, because it looks like the video might be. Can you guys still hear me okay? We're good? Cool. I mean, really, this community exists because of Hunter and I did a sabbatical in October 2020. We took a week. We went into the countryside in Canada. I left my cell phone, my laptop, everything back home. And for 1 week, just like decompressed, went for walks, I still read books, did a lot of journaling. And in that time, got clarity that, I wanted to go back to school. Hannah wanted to go back to school. We both wanted to go and study and keep growing, and bring what we learn to the community. So without that 1 week pause, that we call it a sabbatical, it was only a week, we wouldn't have had the clarity to do what we're doing now, which we love so much. So, I mean, I'll pause there on that first question, maybe bounce it over to Hannah. But I think that I'll just summarize it with a daily practice is one of the most important things we can do. And I think we need to look at the different increments as well.
Yeah, I think that was really great points and great question. And I think most of us will, I think it's relevant for all of us. And when I hear this question, I think about some of the teachers that we go visit in India. They too have Instagram accounts and they're active. And one of the teachers we visit, he will have a daily from 10 to 2 or 4, even though he works with people that we can't even imagine, like Prime Minister of India, like actors, all kinds of people go visit him. And so just to say that he is probably very busy. And every day he will have silence every day, no matter what, from 10 to 4. And
in the middle of the day.
In the middle of the day. So, and of course he has morning.
Hours.
Yeah. And he has morning routines and he has evening, like every evening he leads a whole prayer situation for the whole world. And anyone who is in Rishikesh can join. So, certainly he has his routines in check, but what I would ask anyone kind of in inquiry around this topic is like, how do we use these channels of communication and what the problem might be? Like I hear Alice mention noise, like it feels noisy to you. So then maybe and also you mentioned silence. So that's why this example came to my mind, that maybe the way, because it is important for people to know what you're doing. And I would think that just, your writing doesn't add noise to your life. How could you use the channels of communication in ways that, that are creative and interesting and not draining? There's probably a way, and to consider that a lot of great spiritual teachers also use these channels. So maybe there is a way and maybe not, but that was the one thing that came to my mind, that maybe we can do both if we find the right formula and the right kind of way to use it, the purpose, the why we do it at all. And some of us might still choose to say at this stage of my life, it's, it adds too much noise and too much stress. And so maybe not to do it, but everything's always about balance, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's some great points. And what I'm hearing, or what I think about what you share there, Hanna, is we can set boundaries. So we can consciously decide which platforms will allow us to express ourselves and to be creative and to connect with community and connect with the world. One of those ways, obviously, Alice, is Zoom, right? We get to see you multiple times a week here. So this is the technology that is, I assume, serving you. And then I know you're talking about like Instagram and WhatsApp and some of these others. and I feel like, yeah, really setting boundaries. I truthfully, so I have a Facebook account. You know how you get those red notifications, like, I guess if you're tagged, or I don't even know, but I haven't looked at one of those red notifications in over a year. I get so many. And what I will do is, if somebody sends me a message, like, if so basically sends a Facebook message, I will respond to that. But I'm sure I've been tagged in stuff. I'm sure I've been wished happy birthday. I'm sure I've you know and I wish that I could be there to serve and connect with every single person that tags me, or but it's just not feasible. And talking about WhatsApp, the one thing that we can do is we can silence certain channels. Like, I have, um, I've got one channel that's got 148 unread messages. Another one's got 138 unread messages, but I don't get any notifications, right? Because I've got it shut off, so I can. It's like I'm still a part of it, because in case I want to go in and connect with that community that I was a part of some years ago, I could. I haven't, like, shut it off, but I'm not getting any kind of distraction or noise. So it's tricky. I haven't figured it out, but I feel like it is. I mean, the easiest way is doing what Scott has done. I'm impressed. That's really. I mean, this is how we all lived, right? Those of us who grew up in the '80s and beyond, right? We didn't have all of this, and we survived. We had. You guys remember the phones, those rotary dial telephones? You had to, like, wow. Oh, look at that cell phone, Scott. Nice. Yes.
I get ribbed at work about it, but everyone, after we have a bit of a joke about the situation, everyone's like, oh yeah, I'd love to do that though, and oh, I only have my phone for work and stuff. And so I think there still is an understanding that a lot of people are really pulled towards the phones and the media and stuff. But
I think it's like you say, it's just about boundaries. It's really good what you were just sharing about thinking about each hour or each part of the day, because I know that when I'm in creative mode and I don't know, working on the things, my offerings and things, I can get lost in that moment and forget, even though we do spend a lot of time connecting with nature, removing ourselves from busy situations, I'm still guilty of getting lost. And I think I mean, lately I've been in inquiry about just which channels suit me, and what you've said about silencing things on WhatsApp. But if I go into a group and I see 130 messages, just seeing it makes me feel like I can't cope with it. So I'm having to really think, and because of where we are at the moment in Spain, in a very quiet place, I'm really using this time to think, what works for me, and be okay with that, because what works for one person, I think Hannah might have said that, it doesn't work for another. So it's just about bringing into my practice on that daily basis or that hourly basis, just thinking about what is working for me, and where do I feel that I can add value. And where is adding value for me? Like you said, coming to this is adding value to my life, and technology is amazing and it's connecting us around the world. But yeah, I just think sometimes, different people as well, I find it quite challenging. So yeah, maybe it is just a constant inquiry about it and set those boundaries.
Yeah, and I mean, like, as much as I would want to, I have so much respect for Scott, and I want to get to a place closer to that. At the same time, I have to be honest and say, Alice, your posts and your blogs add a lot of value. They make the world a better place. And if we, if you weren't doing that, it's not like you're doing anything. By not doing it is not bad, of course. And though, by what you are doing, by what you are sharing, it really does add a lot of value, and it lifts, at a time when there's a lot of unfortunate things going on in the world, it brings some positivity, brings some hope. And of course, we have to think about, for those of us who are entrepreneurs or yoga teachers or kind of creating a community, this will be a way for your students to stay connected, especially now you're in Spain, but you have some community back in the UK, and it is a way to, there is a lot of kind of potential and a lot of benefit there. So it's really, but it's very careful finding that balance.
That's it. But I guess that's like with anything in life, isn't it? Finding that balance is a constant, you're constantly, that's yoga for me. It's about constantly thinking and working things out. So yeah, it's interesting to hear.
And I feel like the other thing that I work with is being curious and experimenting. And sometimes life delivers us circumstances where we have to do a certain thing. So like last fall, 1 year ago, in my first semester here, our Facebook and Instagram accounts got hacked. And so there was, for a moment, it's like, oh man, this sucks. But then, it was hacked till, I think, until like the end of November. So it was like September, October, November. It was close to 3 months where we had no social media. And it was amazing. Oh my goodness. It was so good. I didn't ever have to check Instagram or have to check Facebook. I mean, like there were moments I was like, oh, it's unfortunate, but at the same time, like we've had these accounts for 10 years. And we post, not a lot of people see our posts. We don't get a lot of likes and a lot of comments, right? It's like when we do put an effort to put stuff out, it's a limited amount of people who see it. And stress goes into like thinking about what do we put. And so it was so liberating to have that period where I didn't have it. I was grateful when we were able to get it unhacked and going again. We've never really taken off and put a lot of effort into social media, but I'm happy we have it because it is a way to connect and to share. But I guess just sometimes those pauses, whether you have 3 months unplanned because you get hacked, or whether you go into a little mini sabbatical, you go to the nature, it's nothing feels better than like shutting this off and shutting this off and leaving it in a different town and just like heading out to the cabin. You guys know that you do that. And I guess, but we got to find, I guess that's where we are right now. Cause there's a lot of chat comments. Can't read them all, but I see one that our friend Sue in Sturgeon Falls shared. It says, I don't want to disconnect at all. I'm so hooked. FOMO of the highest order, fear of missing out. I get it, right? Like there's, especially I get that though, Sue. You've been such a beautiful part of this community this past year, and we got to meet you in person, last month and or this summer. And it is really nice and special when you connect with a community and you get to communicate with them and share with them. So I get that. And so I guess it's really for each of us finding what feels right and recognizing when we get out of balance. Just another place I'll call myself out. Maybe there's too much information, but I'm sure some of you perhaps will judge me. Some of you will secretly be like, yep, I do that too. But like when I have to go to the bathroom, like this comes with me. And it's like, I know, Scott, I know you're so disappointed. You would never do that with your flip phone digit thing. But I'm serious. I'm calling myself out. It's like such a habit. But I will say, I don't go there for like the Instagram stuff. Like I don't go there for the entertainment. I go there to check my emails and check messages because I'm somehow wired for productivity. So I'm like, well, I've been working on this thing, so I'm just going to quickly see if there's any emails or something. But as soon as I'm done checking the emails, and if I'm still there, then I open up Instagram, and then I stay there for 2 minutes. I'm quick to like cut myself off after like 2 minutes. It's never a 5 or a 10 minute thing for me, but it's little 2 minute bursts. And then I'm like, that's enough. But you start to add that up. And if how your phone tells you. So my phone tells me right now that it's been open for 3 hours and 48 minutes today. And it's not lunchtime. I've listened to podcasts. So like, it's a lot of that is podcasts, and playing mantras. Yeah. but there's Instagram there. Yeah, mostly Spotify. But anyways, you know, I recognize that I'm just calling myself out. And again, when I forget the circumstance, but there was some circumstance where I really set the intention where I was not going to do that anymore. And I fell back into the trap. So again, I'll take the judgment. I'll take the, it was so awesome seeing your reaction, Scott.
I think it's probably, you know, like Alice uses, we'd like to think she uses a lot of the stuff she uses. It's a tool, isn't it, for work? It's like you guys, you know, you need in this day and age, how it is now, to use it as a tool. And I suppose I don't do that because Alice does that. So a lot of it falls on your shoulders, doesn't it? But it's not to say that I don't partake in it, but I think it's just getting from using as a tool to really maybe overtaking your life a bit too much. You know?
Yeah, like what you just said, Jack. I just feel that's the thing, isn't it? I set boundaries. I have a phone like Scott, but I have these apps on my tablet which I use at set times, but I still get sucked in. And maybe it's also a personality thing, and we just have to keep setting those. Like I'm having a reminder at the moment because I recognize that it's been making me anxious, so I'm having a reflective period about it. It doesn't necessarily mean it's forever. It's just, you know, right now I recognize that maybe I need to step away from some things. But I think it is just constant and never ending, you know.
Yeah. And being kind to ourselves. And it's great that you have this awareness and you catch it. And we have to be quick. I'll just say, not to judge others. You know, I was out with some yogis this weekend, and you know, sharing a room with some guys in bunk beds, and you know, get up early in the morning. And when I would wake up, you know, alarm, I was getting up at 4:30. I slept in half hour, but get up at 4:30, and as I was getting ready, you know, I could see in the other bunks, you know, two of the other yogis they were also up, and they were on their phones. And I don't know what they were doing. Maybe they were talking to their spouse and it was really important, or they're connecting with their kids. But I think many of us, and I don't do that, no way. But I think many people do wake up, alarm clock goes off, open the phone, and just start looking at stuff, right? Get sucked in. And that's, you know, not the best way to start our day. Again, no judgment, no criticism, because we've all been at different periods of our life. But if we start our day by like seeing the highlight reel of everybody else's amazing life, like, oh, Honda's in Italy right now, and oh, she's so lucky, and oh, you know, this person's doing this, that person's doing that, versus, you know, waking up and coming back to what you said, the daily practice, waking up, whatever the rituals are, starting our day with that, ending our day with that, so important.
Often when we, you know, wake up, we actually put Hannah on and a yoga nidra, so we're getting really good things from these things as well. So
you're a wake up, Hannah.
yeah.
That's amazing. I love it. I feel like this was such a great conversation. Hannah, do you want to add anything on this year?
I think that it was a really great conversation, and that we all are interested in. We all navigate that. So yeah, I don't have anything to add right now.
That's great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the questions, Alice, Scott. Beautiful to connect with you both. We're sending our love, high vibes to Spain in the house. Oh, look at that. Hearts are flying. And you know what? I mean, here's where we get to practice letting go of structure, letting go of plans, because we had a whole nother section planned, which we're gonna have to save for next week, but it's good.
Did you get to step 1 on your piece of paper? Or how many bullet points did we hit?
Well, I'd say if it was broken into 3 sections, we did 2 of the 3 main sections. But I'm excited. Yeah, nice. Thanks for the thumbs up, Ryan. Feel you, brother. And this next section, I'll just give a little taster. It's on the wisdom of yoga, and you know, with the deeper part of yoga. And I will share that there's going to be a little hot seat experience. There's going to be sharing some teachings, sharing some directly from Shastra, the sacred teachings, and doing a little quiz, a little test with everybody. So next week, bring your notepads, bring your pens, and we'll dive into that. But yeah, I'm so happy. Thank you for taking the time, Alice and Scott, for that question. Reminder, anybody else that has a question, if you think of it right now, if you think of it this week, send us an email to info@happyjackyoga.com and we'll get you the Zoom link. We'll get you the Zoom link if you want to join us live, but you can also send in a question and you don't have to join live. We should make that clear. You don't, if somebody sends a question and we know them, like we do Alice and Scott, we may, and you're here, we may bring you on, but you can
Yeah,
also
we'll
just
ask
email it.
you if you want to come on. We won't force you. You can ask us anyway. And yeah, right?
Exactly. Yep. So submit questions, get the Zoom link if you'd love to join. Lots of great chat. Can't read them all right now, but still lots of love in the chat. If you would love to join us for live yoga, as Alice and Scott said they do, it's so fun. We'll see Alice and Scott kind of supporting one another in the supine twist, and kind of now I know you guys are just talking about like, oh, it feels so good to practice together. Join us. Free yoga classes Fridays, 11 a.m. Eastern. Again, send us an email. We'll get you the Zoom link. And again, if you feel inspired, there's no expectation. And though, if you've been listening for a few episodes and you're like, oh, this is pretty cool, I'm getting some value of this, and you want to make a contribution to our Patreon creator account, it's patreon.com/happyjackyoga. I'll put the link in the chat. And basically, if you want to support that, we're a listener supported podcast. And I gotta stop looking at the chat because there's so many good things being shared. But just thank you all for being here. Thank you, Hanna, for sharing the space, making the time while you're overseas at the moment, and because it's really something special. I feel that we're creating to be able to connect with all the yogis and engage in these conversations.
Yeah, thank you. I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Amazing. Well,
Mhm.
my friends, everybody who's here, the 14 of us who are still on live, as soon as we stop recording, I'd love to check in with you, hear your feedback, hear how we can serve you better. Everybody else, make it an amazing rest of the day, and we'll see you soon, my friends. Namaste.
Namaste.